Ladies and gentlemen, it seems that Kuro has blessed us with Galbrena's official weapons. We're going to take a look at what they have to offer, their stats, the skills, and all that good stuff. And we're going to see how good, how bad, or how mid these weapons might be. A lot of people have been messaging me telling me that these weapons are going to be a problem. So I want to see what they cooked up with these guns. Now we have Lux and Umbra, which kind of reminds me of two other guns that go by the name of Ebony and Ivory. If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. But hey, they look really damn cool. I gotta say, these guns look absolutely great. They cooked with the fact that they made them two different colors. I think that's freaking amazing. And they look different at that as well. They're not just two different colors, right? Let's go on over and check them out. Now, we ain't reading all this crap. When it comes to the base stats, ladies and gentlemen, we have 587 attack with 48 crit damage. Now, it seems that it is going to be one of those weapons that is on the heavier side when it comes to attack. Now, there's a lot of other weapons out there that are usually a lot weaker when it comes to the attack, but that crit damage is actually pretty decent. I'm not going to say it's like one of the best. Have y'all seen Carlotta's? She has some crazy stats. Let's see if we can open it up right here real quick, and I'll show you guys. Right, we got Carlotta's weapons right here, but as you can see, it has a lot lower attack when it comes to Ebony and Ivory, or I mean Lux and Umbra, right? But that crit damage is absolutely insane, right? Moving on over back to this weapon, I do think it's not bad when it comes to having higher attack. It's pretty good for the overall damage, but me personally, I do like my crits being higher. I will say though, I would have preferred if it was a crit rate main stat, because it's just easier to build when you have crit rate on your weapon than it is when it comes to crit damage, because of the way forecast have their stats. Now, these are just the base stats. Let's move on over to the actual weapon skills. We're going to be taking a look at this in Syntonization rank 1, okay? Attack is increased by 12%. Pretty basic. Upon dealing echo skill damage, gain 24% heavy attack damage amplification for 6 seconds. Now, I really like damage amp. Damage amp is so much better, in my opinion, than just flat out increase to the damage, because this is actually insanely good. And it lasts for 6 seconds, which, even though you guys know I'm not a big fan of those short buffs, because you got to manage not only this, but then you got to manage usually the echo set buffs, then you got to manage the timer on the other buffs of all the other characters on the team. It still works pretty well, because from what I'm seeing, she's actually dealing some pretty damn good damage. Upon dealing heavy attack damage, gains 24% echo skill damage amplification for 6 seconds. Once again, with the damage amplification, 6 seconds. So pretty much, you're going to be doing your rotation. You're going to be triggering her entire kit. You're going to be triggering the buffs of heavy attack damage amp and echo skill damage amp, which is pretty good. Honestly, that's really good. Damage amplification on each attack is capped at 24%, while both effects are active. Dealing damage ignores 8% of the target's defense. Ooh, bro, I'm gonna be honest. This weapon is actually pretty damn strong, bro. It's giving heavy attack damage amp, echo skill damage amp, damage amplification on each attack, right, which is capped, but still pretty damn nice. And it's giving you 8% defense ignore. That is absolutely solid. Now, let's talk about the other thing that I know you guys want to talk about. I feel that this weapon is going to be very, very good on her. Now, I can't sit here and tell you how strong this weapon is going to be in comparison to the other weapons on the roster, right? I feel that from just looking at it, from the testing that we've done on this character, this is going to be around 20 to maybe 30% higher than the other options on the roster for Galbrena. So if you want to main Galbrena, please do yourself a favor and get yourself this weapon. The second part of this thing that I want to talk about is that this is kind of a very specific gun right now, right? This is a very specific weapon that you're really only going to get for Galbrena. There is no other character in the game that uses a gun that is really doing heavy attack damage and echo skill damage. And you really don't want to get this gun just because of the defense ignore. So I think this is one of the, few weapons in the game that we have that you're really only going to get for the said character. And while you can run this on maybe another character, like maybe you might think, yo, the heavy attack damage amplification might be good for my Siakona. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. If that's what you're thinking, might as well just get Siakona's weapon. I don't think you should get this weapon for Siakona or for any other character outside of Galbrena. And if your reasoning is, yo, I might get this weapon for future characters because it can happen, like we saw, I believe it was with Roshia's weapon, that it was very, very specific, and we thought it was going to be just some doo-doo specific for Roshia, and then you could use it on Zani. Yes, Zani's weapon is still better for Zani because it is her signature, but you can still use Roshia's weapon. This might be a thing that in the future, maybe another character comes out that deals heavy damage and echo skill damage, but honestly, I wouldn't bank on that, and I wouldn't pull the weapon specifically for that reason, right? So don't get that. This is a very specific weapon that is pretty much going to work on Galbrena, and that's pretty much it when it comes to the weapon. Now, I do want to say, what are other options that we can be looking into for Galbrena in particular? And I gotta be straightforward. There might be other options, and I'm sure people are going to talk about other options, but for me, when a weapon offers something that caters to a character so much, I don't really even consider the other options, guys. So if you're someone that's willing to pull for Galbrena, this weapon is going to give you quite a bit of longevity for your character. So once again, you guys know me. I advise you guys to pull this weapon, but for the sake of the entertainment, let's go ahead and look at other weapons. And we do have other pistols like the Woodland Aria, right? That is going to give you, once again, some relatively low attack, and it is going to give you some crit rate, which is not bad. I do see this as a stat stick for the most part. I don't really see anything else in here actually working with Galbrena, and in my honest opinion, when I look at a weapon like this, and I compare something like this with something like this, I personally don't like going for a different weapon. I just don't like that. So you can run this with a stat stick, but I would still go ahead and get her weapon. You still have the Last Stance, which offers an insane amount of crit damage. Once again, lowers attack. It increases, your attack like normal, but she doesn't really work around Resonance Liberation or skill damage, so I wouldn't go for that. Static Mist, you got the crit rate, you got the attack, which pretty damn good, energy regen, and you got the whole buffing aspect of it, but I don't really like it. And then Solar Flame is going to be a weapon that you can go ahead and use on her because it does offer a nice crit rate, it does offer heavy attack damage increase, but you miss out on the second part of her kit, which is going to be the whole echo skill damage amplification. So if I were you guys, stick to getting her weapon. While there are other options, I wouldn't look too deep into them. Her weapon looks to be a very, very good option, but very, very specific to her. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I know some people here don't really like weapons that are very specific to a character, and we will be doing testing to see how much of a difference this weapon is to something like, the Woodland Area, the Last Stance, Static Mist, and maybe even Solar Flame. So be sure to tune on into the live streams, but for now, that's my take on Lux and Umbra. Appreciate you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.